Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Hey, look, today I wanted to talk to you about the cost of living adjustment and some projections. What were we looking at for the cost of living adjustment for 2024? We're getting really close to the real numbers that are going to be used to calculate the figures. In fact, this month, July, is the first month of real data that is going to be utilized to calculate that cost of living adjustment for 2024. Now, June's numbers, which is the last of the months that lead up to the final months that are used, we use the last quarter of the fiscal year, which is July, August, September, to calculate the COLA. So June is the last month that is not utilized to calculate that number. But those numbers came out and they got published here July 2nd or 12th, July 12th. So wanted to share that with you and dive into a little article about the projections for COLA for 2024, increasing monetary payments, Social Security and VA benefits as well. So with that, in June, so the June 2023 Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical earners, released again July 12th, was 299.394, which is 2.6% above the fiscal year 2023 baseline of 21.901. The next CPI-W release is set for August 10th. So less than a month from now, we will get those figures for July, which are going to be the ones that is the first set that is actually going to be utilized in the real calculation for our COLA. But for now, let's work with what we got and see what we're looking at. So, again, remember that the CPI-W figures from the end of this fiscal year, again, that's July through August, July, August, and September, are going to be the ones that are used in comparison to fiscal year 2023 COLA baseline to calculate the 2024 COLA. So the article here that I pulled up that I wanted to share with you is headlined, "As inflation cools, Social Security beneficiaries may see a much lower cost of living adjustment in 2024. This was just published on Wednesday, July 12th, 2023, by Lori Knish, and it's on in the CNBC website here. So, jumping into it, it says here, Social Security beneficiaries, which again, VA mirrors the Social Security COLA adjustment. So there's going to be a lot of reference to Social Security, but really it's going to be the same for VA. So Social Security beneficiaries have seen record high cost of living adjustments in recent years due to high inflation, but that may end in 2024, experts predict. As the rate of inflation continues to fall, Social Security beneficiaries may expect to see a much lower cost of living adjustment for 2024. The Social Security COLA may be 3%, according to a new estimate from the Senior Citizens League, a nonpartisan senior group based on new Consumer Price Index data for June, released on Wednesday. The estimate is higher than the 2.7% increase for 2024 the group projected last month due to changes in the average monthly rate of inflation, according to Mae Johnson, Social Security and Medicare policy analyst at the Senior Citizens League. The 3.3% increase would happen, separately, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget issued its own Social Security COLA estimate on Wednesday that anticipates a benefit increase for 2024 in the range of 2.6% to 3.3%. Again, I'm going to say that part again. Separately, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget issued its own Social Security COLA estimate on Wednesday that anticipates a benefit increase for 2024 in the range of 2.6% to 3.3%. So, that's the overarching range. So right in the middle of that is basically that 3%. So the 3.3% that's indicated by the federal budget, responsible federal budget committee, stated that the 3.3% increase would happen if recent inflation trends continue. And that's the whole purpose of projecting and forecasting, is looking at trends, and if that trend follows through, this is what you're going to be looking at. So again, we're going to use the last quarter's data for the federal fiscal year, which is your July, August, September numbers. But if the trends continue, we're potentially looking at a 3.3% increase. Let's see what else it says. A lower 2.6% rise would happen if there is no net inflation for the rest of the year, according to the forecast. So kind of a best case, worst case as far as numbers are concerned. The projected increases to benefits for next year would fall short of the 8.7% rise beneficiaries saw in 2023, the highest boost in 4 decades. In 2022, so the year before last, beneficiaries saw a 5.9% increase, which was also a record increase at the time. Social Security benefits rose by more than $140 per month on average starting in January, according to estimates from the Social Security Administration. The increase applied to about 70 million Social Security and Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, beneficiaries. The purpose of the cost of living adjustment is to ensure benefits keep up with inflation. The largest recorded COLA at 14.3% went into effect in 1981. In other years, 2010, 2011, and 2016, beneficiaries saw no benefit increase. So that's important to contrast, right? So you had some years where there was zero, but you also had some very, very high years. 3 more months of data before official COLA. So again, they're talking about the last 3 months of the fiscal year. To be sure, the estimate is preliminary and may change before the Social Security Administration announces the COLA for 2024 in October. It is not uncommon for this average monthly rate to change, Johnson said. That's what changes every single month, and that's why the COLA estimate changes, of course. So each month provides new data, and that changes the way the arrow is pointing, which changes the percentages, right, as far as the forecasting and projecting is concerned. The consumer price index rose 3% from 1 year ago as of June, according to the data released Wednesday. The Social Security Administration uses a subset of that index, the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, or CPI-W, to calculate the annual COLA. The COLA is based on the percentage change in the CPI-W from the third quarter of the last year to the third quarter of the current year. If there is no increase, there is no COLA. Now, here when they're talking about the third quarter, they're talking about the calendar year, so it gets a little confusing. The possibility that the COLA could be zero next year looks unlikely, Johnson noted. In 2023, COLA had led to some catching up. The 8.7% cost of living adjustment has outpaced year-over-year increases in the CPI-W for every month since the increase kicked in January. The latest June data shows the CPI-W is up 2.3% over the last 12 months. In contrast, the 5.9% boost to benefits in 2022 mostly was behind the pace of inflation. There has certainly been some catching up that has occurred, Johnson said of this year's benefit increase. However, retirees and other beneficiaries may find the cost of living adjustment doesn't necessarily match up with the costs increases they personally see. It's a very unusual occurrence for it to ever really match up very well, Johnson said. About 53% of beneficiaries have said their actual costs have risen more than the dollar amount of their cost of living adjustments, according to the Senior Citizens League's research. Now, just a little little add-on here for the Senior Citizens League. They have proposed and are trying to figure out a way to capture a different data set that's more in line with the beneficiaries of Social Security as far as cost of living adjustments are concerned. So if the cost of living data sets that are used to calculate the COLA aren't keeping up with the actual costs, then there may be a better way to determine what that cost of living adjustment should be, particularly in the realms of a higher percentage, to keep up with the actual rising costs for those on Social Security. And a byproduct of that would be those on VA compensation. So there's a lot of good information here. Right now, again, bottom line is you're looking at a 2.6 to 3.3% increase for 2024 is where the chips are kind of landing at this point. Again, we're rolling into the last 3 months of the federal fiscal year, and that's the data that's going to be used starting here in July. So those numbers, again, will come out in the beginning of August, and I will be back to share that with you. So with that, we'll go ahead and conclude it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.